I can't buy the air I breathe. I can't buy the trees. I can't buy the deepest seas. But it don't matter, 'cause they're there for free.
Hello and welcome to Around the World in 88 Tales. I'm David Heathfield. I'm here in the Royal Albert Memorial Museum in Exeter, and I'm with a new storytelling friend, Polina Tšerkassova. I can try that again. Polina Tšerkassova. Is that
Yes.
right, Polina?
Yes.
Oh, I've been practicing. And Polina is in Estonia. And wow, very excited because Polina is a storyteller and a musician and such a talent. And so glad that you're with us, Polina.
Thank you, David. Thank you for the invitation. I'm also excited to be here.
And before I introduce the museum object that's going to inspire our stories, can I just invite you, Polina, to tell us a little bit about yourself as a storyteller, who you are, and your interest in this project Around the World in 88 Tales, why you want to be part of it.
Yes, sure. Well, I've been telling stories basically since childhood. Whenever I heard a story, I rather enjoyed retelling it to the others rather than listening so much to the stories. I also loved listening and reading stories. But for me, it was the most important to tell the story later on to my friends outside in the yard while playing, or in the pauses between playing some active games. I would just sit, and they would also sit there and they would just listen to me, although most of them were older than I. And well, later I became a social and cultural anthropologist. So I have this particular interest in cultures, but storytelling was always there with me, because although I'm doing some academic work, but anthropology is so much about storytelling. I'm telling the stories that I learned during my fieldworks, both in the university and writing some articles, as well as just telling the stories to the wider audience, to people outside of university and academia. So I am performing here in Estonia as a storyteller. I'm telling international stories. As you said, David, as I'm a musician also. So I try to combine the word and the sound of music, the sound of different instruments that I brought from all over the world. So, and I'm excited to participate here because for me, this project also, it has such an important anthropological touch. And I'm very eager to know more how the objects can inspire us to think about different stories, and as well how the stories traveled from place to place.
I'm so happy to hear that from an anthropologist. That gives me that makes me really happy. Wonderful. Polina, our artifact, and I was just inviting people to comment. Where are you? Who are you? Tell us about your interest in storytelling, and please do comment on the stories as well in the chat, whether you're with us live on Facebook now or whether you're on the recording on Facebook or on YouTube. The artifact is a special artifact. I've been to the museum many times, and I gaze at the artifacts from the ancient worlds, from the antiquities, and this is one of the oldest of all in the museum. It's a mirror. How old? 4,000 years old. 4,000 years from ancient Egypt. A hand mirror made of copper alloy, and when it would have been new, it would have been a bright shining metal to give a reflection. No glass, of course, but shining burnished metal. And it would have had a kind of golden orange glow, I suppose. It probably had a wooden or an ivory handle. And it was found with a burial, and you can see on the surface, it's not a smooth surface. So actually you've got the markings or the traces of the cloth that this mirror was wrapped in with that burial. So it's from the Middle Kingdom, from the period of dynasties 11 to 13, and dated to between 2040 to 1750 BC. A mirror. I'm going to tell a story about a mirror. My story doesn't come from Estonia, which is up here in the north of Europe. It doesn't come from Egypt. It comes from very far away in Japan. And I learned this story from a Japanese woman called Maho Sumi. I used to teach many Japanese people, helping them to learn English. And one of my favorite things to do was ask them to tell me a story. So Maho is one of the young students who told me a story from her culture. And this is one of my favorite Japanese stories. There were once a young married couple. They lived in the countryside and they had very little education. We could say they were rather foolish. The young man was very sad because his father had died and he missed his father so much. He cried. And his wife said, "Husband, go into the city, Edo, and in the city, you will find something to make you forget your sorrow." So he went into the city and he walked through the streets and he came to the market, and there he saw something shining. He went over to this round shining object, picked it up and looked. It's my father. I can see my father, and he looks so young. Oh, my father, I'm so happy. My father is happy to see me. How much is this object and what is it? Well, this is a mirror. And, well, the young man paid all the money that he had, and he took this mirror home. All the way he was walking home, my father, I'm so happy to see you. Oh. When he got home, he hid the mirror from his wife. It was too special. When his wife was sleeping, he got up in the middle of the night and he found the mirror. Oh, my father, oh, I am so happy to see you. He was overjoyed. Every night he looked at his father in the mirror. But one night his wife woke up and thought, where's my husband? She climbed out of a futon, walked and found her husband and watched him. Oh, I am so happy to see you. She watched where he hid the mirror. The next day, when her husband wasn't around, she went and found the mirror. What was he looking at? Oh no, my husband has another woman. He has another woman. Oh, and why this woman? She looks so angry. Oh, my husband has another woman. She was furious. She threw the mirror on the ground and it broke. It made such a loud sound that her husband came running. Wife, what have you done? You've broken the mirror. My father was in there. My father was in there. No, husband, you're lying to me. You have another woman in there. You were keeping another woman in there. They shouted and they fought and they screamed. From outside the house, a passing wise man heard. He came in. What's going on? Said the wise man. Oh, my husband, he was keeping another woman in that thing, that mirror. My wife, she broke the mirror and my father was in there. The wise man listened. Oh no, don't you understand? And he explained what a mirror is. He explained about reflections. Finally, the husband and wife understood. the husband said, I understand. Now I understand why my father looked so young and handsome. And the woman, the wife, said, yes, now I understand why the young woman in the mirror was so beautiful. This story, The Father in the Mirror, there are many variants of this story. There's even an Irish version that I've heard. So it's another story that travels across cultures. But this is the Japanese version that I was told by Maho Sumi. Thank you, Maho. And thank you to all my Japanese friends. So in the comments, I'm hearing from Jamila Mustafa that this story is also told in Malaysia. Amazing. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go over now to our friend Polina Tšerkassova in Estonia. And Polina, have you got a story to share with us?
Yes, thank you, David. I really enjoyed the way you told this Japanese story. Surprisingly, there is the same story in Russia, particularly in Arkhangelsk. It's a northern part, in northwest Russia, closer to Finland and closer to Karelia. And
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, some of that is yes, I love when the stories travel like that. But today, I will tell an Estonian story. And this is not a Chinese instrument, although it looks very much probably like a Chinese king. This is an Estonian lap harp, which is called kannel in Estonian, kannel. The story I want to tell you, it's one of my favorite stories. And at the end, I will ask something. I will ask one question. So you could just think about this one particular thing that I'm going to ask at the end, and then I'll be very curious to know what you think. It will be something connected to the story.
Perfect.
Long time ago, in a small farmhouse, there lived a man. This man, he had 3 sons, and when the sons grew old, they all fell in love with the same girl. Yes, and the girl, she couldn't choose which of them should marry, because all the 3 brothers, they were all handsome, hardworking, joyful, and very kind. So the father of this girl, he invited the 3 brothers and he gave them the same amount of money to everyone. And he said, now you will go and you will find a gift, a present for my daughter. And whose present will be the best, he will be able to marry my daughter. So the brothers, they went on a journey, but they went all together because they were very good friends. And once, 5 days later, while they were walking through the countryside, sleeping under the trees and sleeping in the hay in the fields, they reached the city, the capital city of Tallinn. Over there, all the buildings were made of stone, and it was so big and so busy. Oh, they were looking around so astonished, and it was exactly on a day of a big fair. There were merchants from all over the world selling their goods. So the 3 brothers, they decided to separate, and in the evening they will meet again. So now the oldest brother, he went there in the fair, and finally he found a horse cart. It was a very old horse cart and so bad and broken, but it was just as expensive as a new one. But because it was a magical cart, whoever would sit into this cart and wish where you would like to be now, it will take you there immediately. So the older brother, he gave all his money for this cart, and now he had a present. So now the middle brother, he walked in the fair, and finally he found a mirror. But it was a very old mirror. It was a darkened mirror that you could see no reflection. You could see nothing in this mirror. But it was a magical mirror. If you looked into this mirror and you wished whom or what you wanted to see, it would show you immediately. Like we would say, just like on a TV screen. But back in the old times, they didn't know what a TV was. So you couldn't hear it, because there were no speakers on the mirror, but you could see whatever you wanted. So now, the middle brother, he gave all his money and he bought a magical mirror. And now, the youngest brother, he was walking and walking there on the fair, and the day was starting to dawn. And the high peaks, the high towers of this beautiful old city made of stone, they started to give these long shadows in the streets. And the youngest brother, he was so worried that he couldn't find a gift. But finally, he found an apple, just an apple, a small apple, a single apple, which was as old and as brown and as not tasty at all, that you wouldn't like to even taste it. But it was a magical apple. Whoever ate the apple, he would be cured from all the illness and all the sickness, even from death. So the youngest brother, he gave all the money he had, and now he also got a present. So in the evening, the three brothers, they all met in the streets of the town, and they decided to stay for a night and in the morning walk back home. And suddenly, the middle brother, he said, "Oh, but I have this magical mirror. Let's look all together what our beloved girl is doing right now at home." So the three brothers, they came closer, they looked into the mirror, and this dark surface of the mirror suddenly started to become lighter and lighter, and they saw their beloved, totally pale, lying on a bed, being terribly sick, and all her family standing around her, all so sad. And the brothers understood that the girl became terribly ill. And now they decided to run back home, but the ways was too long. It was about 5 days of walking. And suddenly the oldest brother said, "But I have the magical cart. Let's sit inside and it will take us there." And so it happened. The three of them, they all entered and they sat into this small, old, broken horse cart. And it suddenly took them just on their yard, in their farmhouse. They ran as fast as they could to the house of this girl. And they entered in, and they went inside, and the girl was there, lying on the bed, totally pale. And the younger brother, he took his apple and he cut it into pieces, and he gave these pieces to a girl. So when the girl ate the last piece, she opened her eyes and she was healthy again. So there could be a happy end now, but there is one question. The girl, what do you think? Whom of the three brothers did the girl marry? She did marry someone, so she really chose someone. But who was it? Was it the oldest brother, the middle brother, or the youngest brother? You can think for yourself, you can write in comments as well. Please write in comments, what do you think? And please write, why do you think the girl made such a choice? Because if we think all together for a moment, if there was no mirror, probably they wouldn't know that the girl was sick. And if there was no cart, they wouldn't have get there on time. And if there was no apple, well, the girl wouldn't become healthy again. So it's a very interesting question. Whom did the girl choose? And now, if you wrote your comments and if you made your own decision, I can tell you how the story went on. Should I?
Oh, I think that's wonderful. Everybody is wondering. There's a tiny bit of time lag on Facebook. So should we give people just a few more seconds to write in the chat? Because I think people are going to start making their comments in a moment. But let's just listen to a music for a few seconds, if that's okay, Polina. Polina, can I say, I'm thinking about myself for what I would choose, and I'm finding it really difficult because, like you said, we need the mirror to see what's going on. We need the cart to get there. We need the apple to cure the girl. It's really hard. I mean, I want a little bit of everything. Or somehow a way for all of the brothers to marry, but there's only one girl and three brothers and they can't all marry the same girl. I mean, that doesn't happen. So
The girl, she made her decision. She really married someone.
shall I read the comment, or would you like to read it?
I think I can't see really the
I'll say.
comment
So
here.
Tammy says she married the youngest brother as he had the imagination to choose something which didn't look very appealing, and went on to find out about its magical properties. He allowed for possibilities. There's some good reasoning.
It's an interesting explanation. Absolutely, yes.
If any more comments are coming in. Or maybe we just need to hear the end of the story now, Polina.
All right, yes, because you can think, and then later listening to the story, maybe again offline, you can also think about there's so interesting logic. But this girl, she was a clever girl, and she had her own interesting way of thinking. She did marry the youngest brother, but listen why. The girl looked around and she thought, well, look, the oldest brother, he has still his gift. He has the horse cart. He can use it again and he will find his happiness. And the middle brother, he has the mirror and he can use it again and he will definitely find his happiness. But the youngest brother, he has no present, no gift anymore because I ate his present. Well, all right, then I will be his gift. That's how the girl thought, and she married the youngest brother. And as we say in Estonia, afterwards they lived in a tiny, tiny house in big love.
That is so beautiful. And Polina, I think you know that in many countries, for example, in Turkey, in Albania, they say at the end of the story, 3 apples fell from heaven. The first apple for the storyteller, the second apple for the listener, and the third apple, well, I always say the third apple is for the one who listens, takes the story and passes it on to others. So here's a beautiful story for sharing. And with your permission, Polina, I would love to retell the story that I've just learned from you.
Thank you, David. Yes, you're welcome to do it. Because also I believe that these stories are like the apples which can cure people, which can cure probably also the relationships in the world. Yes, please do. Thank you.
And thank you to the Royal Albert Memorial Museum for providing this mirror. This mirror, which means that all around the world we can be with Polina sharing this story using this amazing modern technology, just as magical as the ancient technology that the Egyptians discovered 4,000 years ago. Thank you very much. And with that, I say thank you for listening and catch us again. There'll be more story shares coming up next week. Share with your friends, with your neighbours, with all your contacts around the world in 88 Tales. We're travelling all over the world. Thanks, Polina.
I can't buy the trees. I can't buy the deepest seas, but it don't matter, 'cause they're there for free.